I ask you a question? When did being exhausted become normal? Seriously, when did the answer to how are you become busy, exhausted, running on fumes? I need another cup of coffee. We laugh about it. We joke about it. We wear it like it's a badge of honor. But somewhere along the way, we stopped asking each other whether feeling exhausted every day was actually normal. I want to lovingly challenge that idea today because while there are absolutely seasons of life that leave us tired, new babies, caregiving, travel, late nights, I don't believe we should automatically dismiss persistent fatigue as just life. Sometimes fatigue is one of the very first whispers that our body gives us. And if we ignore those whispers long enough, our bodies eventually learn to scream. Today, I want us to learn the language of fatigue because I don't think your body is working against you. I think it's trying to tell you something. So grab your coffee, your tea, or maybe just a really big glass of water, settle in, and let's have a conversation.
Scream it out and say you're worth it, though you feel you're not worth it.
Welcome back to the Nourish with Regina podcast, where we talk about transforming your plate and transforming your life. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Regina, a certified nutrition coach, wife, mama of 4 adult children, and someone who's passionate about helping people create a nourishing environment where their bodies can function the way they were beautifully designed to do. Every Tuesday, we sit down together and have honest conversations about nutrition, science, healthy habits, and simple choices that can truly transform how we feel. If these conversations encourage you each week, I would love it if you would take a second to just subscribe, like, or leave a comment. It really does help these conversations reach more people. And I have some exciting episodes coming up that I can't wait to share with you. You know, one of the questions I kept asking myself while I was preparing for today's episode was, where does energy actually come from? Not coffee, not energy drinks, not another nap on a Saturday afternoon. I mean, where does your body actually make energy? Because I think if we understand that, fatigue suddenly starts to make a lot more sense. I found myself laughing a little bit because I remembered sitting in high school biology, memorizing, one sentence for a test. The mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. I memorized it. I passed the test, I think. And then I promptly forgot it. Like most things we learned in high school. At least we think we forgot it. Turns out my biology teacher deserves a little more credit than I gave her because every heartbeat, every blink, every thought, every step you take, every breath you breathe, every word you're hearing me speak right now requires energy. And much of that energy is produced inside tiny little structures called mitochondria. I like to picture them as like 1,000 little microscopic power plants. Every single cell in your body has them. Your heart is packed with them because it never gets to take a vacation. I mean, your heart's working all the time. Your brain has an enormous number because thinking is incredibly energy intensive. Your muscles rely on them because every time you stand up from a chair or climb a flight of stairs, it requires energy. So these are remarkable little powerhouses, right? Every second of every single day, they're taking nutrients from the food you eat and combining them with oxygen and then producing a tiny little molecule called an ATP. ATP is essentially the body's energy currency. It's how your cells pay for every single job they need to do. So when researchers like Dr. Martin Picard of Columbia University was studying mitochondria, one of the things they've helped us appreciate is that these tiny structures do far more than simply make energy. They're constantly communicating with the rest of the body, responding to stress, adapting to movement, and helping determine how resilient our cells are over time. I think that's amazing because suddenly energy doesn't feel so mysterious anymore, right? It feels understandable. Then I had another thought. Those little power plants can't make something out of nothing. They need raw materials. Imagine trying to build a beautiful home and I drop off gorgeous hardwood flooring right in the driveway. Could you build the house? Of course not. You'd still need lumber, concrete, windows, roofing, plumbing. One beautiful material doesn't build a home. It takes hundreds of different materials working together. So our bodies work the same way. Suddenly, nutrition starts making a whole lot more sense. Because for years, for me anyways, I had been asking the wrong questions. I kept asking, why am I so tired? Maybe the better question that we can ask ourselves is, what does my body need in order to make energy well? So those are two completely different conversations. One begins with frustration and the other begins with curiosity. And I think if we come from a place of frustration with our health, our nutrition, and our bodies, it's just going to become more frustrating. So curiosity, on the other hand, has changed my life. You know, I spent years thinking either food gave me energy or it didn't. Almost like gasoline in a car, right? Fill the tank, the car goes, simple. But that's not really how our bodies work. Our bodies don't simply burn food. They build energy, and building requires materials, right? So that's why I didn't get nearly as excited about calories as I once did. I mean, if you've listened to some of my past episodes, I literally counted every calorie every day obsessively. But calories only tell one small piece of the story. What fascinates me now is what those calories are bringing with them, right? Because food isn't just energy. Pardon me. It's also information. It's communication. It's raw materials. Every bite we take delivers thousands of tiny messages to our bodies. Here's protein, here's iron, here's magnesium, here's healthy fats, here's vitamin C, here's fiber for the incredible little ecosystem you have living in your gut. It's almost as though every meal arrives carrying little boxes that say, we brought supplies. I don't know. I just love that picture because it changes the entire conversation. Instead of asking, can I eat this? I find myself now asking, how might this help my body today? Because that's what we want to do. We want to nourish our bodies and help them and support them in functioning properly, right? So how might this help my body today sounds much lighter. It feels hopeful and not restrictive. So one of the first places this changed for me was breakfast. So can I ask you something? How many mornings have you survived on nothing but coffee? Be honest. I can ask because I've done it too. Life gets busy. The alarm goes off. You hit snooze maybe once or twice. You hurry up. You get ready. Then the emails start coming in. Sorry, I thought I turned the volume off on that. But anyways, you know, maybe you're trying to get your kids out the door. Maybe you're rushing to work. Maybe you're simply trying to keep up with everything that's going on. So you grab a coffee, right? I love coffee. I'm a big coffee drinker. I need it in the morning. It's like my go-to. I take it with me to work, or if I'm leaving the house in the morning, I always have my coffee with me. So I do know this story. This is a true story. But you grab the coffee and then you promise yourself you're going to eat later. And suddenly it's 10:30 and then it's 11:30 And then you're standing in front of the pantry, wondering why every cracker, cookie, pretzel suddenly sounds amazing. For years, I blamed myself. I thought, why don't I have more willpower? Why can't I just get up earlier? Now I think my body was simply trying to get my attention. It was saying, remember those building materials we talked about? We're running a little low over here. So that one realization changed everything. Of course, not overnight, not dramatically, just steadily. So when I intentionally started eating more protein in the morning, something surprising happened. It wasn't reaching for a third cup of coffee by mid-morning. I wasn't counting the minutes until lunch. My afternoons didn't feel quite so much like survival mode. It wasn't because protein is magical. It was because I had finally given my body something to work with. And then another little light bulb went on. Maybe it wasn't just the protein. Maybe it was what the protein was helping me do. So it was helping me stabilize my blood sugar. You know, blood sugar has gotten kind of a bad reputation because we tend to think it's only something that people with diabetes need to think about. But every single one of us have blood sugar. Every single one of us depends on it. Your brain certainly does. It's super important for neurological brain kind of health. In fact, your brain uses about 20% of your body's total energy, despite making up only a small percentage of your body's weight. So no wonder brain fog is one of the first things we notice when our energy begins slipping. So when our blood sugar rises very quickly, our bodies respond exactly as they should. Insulin helps move that glucose into our cells. So this is a beautifully designed system. But when that rise is followed by a rapid drop, our bodies notice, right? Sometimes that can feel like irritability, sometimes like brain fog, sometimes like standing in front of your pantry thinking, I want to eat everything I see. Again, it's not a character flaw. That's biology. And honestly, there was something incredibly freeing about learning that. Because I spent years blaming myself for something my body was simply trying to communicate with me that I didn't know how to listen to. You know, people actually ask me quite often, so what do you actually eat? And honestly, I smile a little because they're usually expecting me to describe some complicated meal with ingredients they've never heard of. The truth is, most of the meals I eat are incredibly simple. They're just intentional. Like there's a process and a plan that goes into each meal that I build. So I don't spend my day chasing superfoods. And superfoods are great, don't get me wrong. But, you know, if you're so focused on building the perfect meal, you're kind of going to miss the point, right? I spend my day trying to build meals where every ingredient quietly contributes something. So I'm like building a really good team is the way I look at it. Nobody's trying to do all the work. Everyone is simply showing up and they're doing their part. So I think that's one of the reasons I enjoy cooking so much now, is because I get to build these teams, and that brings me so much joy and excitement. So I don't look at my cutting board anymore and think, okay, how many calories is this? I find myself asking, what can I give my body today that will help it do its job well? And those two things are completely different. They're a different way to look at the food we eat, and they're a different way to think about nutrition, right? Not everything boils down to calories, because you can have the same number of calories in something that is very empty. So I want to share one of my favorites, and this has been one of my go-to lunches whenever I know I have a busy afternoon, or I can make it the night before, the night ahead for work the next day. Sometimes I call it my everything bowl, not because I throw everything in the refrigerator into it, though some days It feels kind of close. But almost because every ingredient is bringing something valuable to the table. So I usually start with a big handful of power greens or baby spinach, something that's super nutrient dense. Iceberg lettuce is great for hydration. There's not a lot of nutrients to it, so use those really deep, rich green kind of greens, right? Spinach is great. It's not a magical food, but it is one of the quiet foods. It doesn't demand a lot of attention. It's packed with folate, vitamin K, magnesium, potassium, and naturally occurring nitrates. So then to that, I add some grilled chicken. Sometimes it could be leftover chicken. It can be rotisserie chicken, whatever is easiest for you. If you followed my videos, I do batch cook. So I'll just cook a bunch of chicken breasts at the beginning of the week. So I usually have some kind of either baked or grilled chicken on hand. So I just chop that up. I put that in there. Grilled turkey works the same. Whatever I have prepared, because one of the simplest things I've learned as a nutrition coach is that healthy eating becomes so much easier when healthy food is already waiting for you. And that's why I'm such a big proponent of meal prepping and batch cooking, because, if you don't have a plan, your plan is to fail, basically. So there is wisdom in leftovers too. Then we're going to add about a half a cup of quinoa, which is also something you can cook ahead and keep a bowl in an airtight container in your refrigerator. So just, about a half a cup of the quinoa. So years ago, I probably would have skipped the quinoa because I thought carbohydrates were the enemy. Now I appreciate what foods like quinoa bring to the table. One, it's high in fiber, great for minerals. It gives you steady energy. Carbohydrates, if they're the right ones, are great for energy. Quinoa has a little extra protein, so it's not gonna do that blood sugar roller coaster that processed carbohydrates can do. It's just quiet, consistent fuel. Then comes the beloved roasted beets. Now, if you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you knew the beets were coming because I love them. Not just because I think they taste amazing. I love the earthiness, richness of the beets. But researchers have become increasingly interested in the natural occurring nitrates found in beets because the body can convert them into nitric oxide, which is a molecule that helps support healthy blood flow. Better blood flow means oxygen is delivered more efficiently, and it's delivered to our muscle and our tissues in our body. So some studies even suggest beetroot may improve exercise performance and support mitochondrial efficiency during physical activity. So if you work out a lot, if you want to, maximize your blood flow for your body, beets are fantastic for that. Now, does that mean beets are a miracle food? No. It simply means they're another beautiful example of how God designed food with incredible complexity. Then I'll add some cucumbers, bell peppers, a scoop of chickpeas maybe. Not because I'm trying to just check off 14 vegetables or anything like that, but because color matters. So one of my favorite pieces of nutrition advice I ever got was eat the rainbow. And if you look at your dinner plate and it is all beige, we probably need to rethink what you're eating. So think about that. Eat the rainbow. It does make for beautiful lunches. And, we do eat with our eyes. So that's always important. But every color that is on our plate represents different phytochemicals, different antioxidants, different compounds that scientists continue to study for their role in supporting our cells and protecting them from oxidative stress. It's almost like nature painted each color with a different purpose. And I think that is so beautiful. And then once I put that all together, I will sprinkle on some pumpkin seeds, maybe a little bit of feta cheese, if you can tolerate the dairy. But pumpkin seeds, we'll go back to the pumpkin seeds. They're one of my favorite little nutrition powerhouses. Not only are they delicious, but they're super rich in magnesium, zinc, healthy fats, plant protein. They even have a little bit of iron in them. So remember how we talked about our tiny little power plants? Magnesium plays an essential role in ATP production. Iron helps transport oxygen. Zinc will support hundreds of enzymatic reactions throughout the body, including immune function and tissue repair. Tiny food, big contribution. And then, like I said, if the dairy works for you, I'll do a little bit of crumbled feta or goat cheese over the top. Notice I said if dairy works for you. I think that's important. Nutrition is very personal. What nourishes one person may not be the best choice for someone else. So that's one of the reasons I dislike blanket nutrition rules. We're all beautifully unique and we require uniquely different things. That's why I love doing my one-on-one coaching, because I can help that person design a program that is unique to them and their bodies, which is incredibly effective, or can be at least. So finally, then back to the bowl. I drizzle everything with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil, squeeze of fresh lemon juice, little black pepper. And then if there's any herbs that you love that you want to add, I got tons of basil growing right now, so I can put a little basil, a little oregano on there, some parsley, whatever you have available to you or that you like, because if you're going to eat this, you're going to want it to be delicious, right? And I also truly believe that healthy, nourishing food can be amazingly delicious. So if you've spent any time with me, though, you know that I think herbs deserve a whole lot more attention than they get. They are one of the easiest ways to add flavor, antioxidants, anti-inflammatory plant compounds, vitamins, minerals, without changing the entire meal. And honestly, I don't think we give herbs nearly enough credit, but we're going to start to, okay? Because just follow my channel here and we'll talk about herbs a lot. So then you have it and you can enjoy a delicious energy powerhouse lunch. You know what I love most about this bowl is that it isn't one ingredient that is extraordinary. It's not like one shining star. It's that together they become something extraordinary. The chicken quietly brings protein. The quinoa provides fiber and steady carbohydrates. The spinach contributes to folate and magnesium. The beets support healthy blood flow. The chickpeas bring additional fiber to nourish both you and your gut microbiome. The olive oil provides a beautiful monounsaturated fat and some polyphenols in there. The lemon helps improve the absorption of the non-heme iron from the spinach and the chickpeas because of its vitamin C. So even that little squeeze of lemon juice has a purpose. Isn't that incredible? Nobody's competing. Nobody's trying to be the hero. They're all working together in our bowl, kind of like the human body itself. And I think that's one of the most important lessons in nutrition that I have ever learned, is that health is almost never built by one amazing decision. It's built by hundreds of ordinary decisions every day. One meal, one walk, one glass of water, one good night's sleep, one deep breath, one choice, quietly building on another. And guys, we can do anything once. And once you do it once, it's easier to do it twice and then 3 times. And this is how we build those healthy habits. And maybe that's why I don't really believe in energy foods per se. I believe in energy patterns. So patterns that consistently provide the body with protein, healthy fats, fiber, color, hydration, vitamins and minerals that our cells use every single day. No single meal is going to erase years of exhaustion. I can promise you that. Just like one workout won't build a lifetime of strength or give you a six pack of abs overnight, right? But every nourishing meal is another opportunity to say to your body, I got you. I'm listening. Let's keep building this together. Of course, there's something really important we need to talk about because sometimes you can eat a beautiful Mediterranean energy bowl every single day and still feel exhausted. And if that's happening, I don't want you blaming your lunch. I want us to get curious about something deeper. So, one of the things I love most about nutrition is that it is incredibly powerful. One thing I respect most about science is that it reminds us nutrition isn't the entire story. So, honestly, I think these two ideas can live together beautifully in harmony. Food creates an environment where our bodies can function well. It's the supplies to building the house. But sometimes something else is interfering with the environment. Maybe it's a nutrient deficiency. Maybe it's a thyroid disorder. Maybe it's an autoimmune condition. Maybe it's chronic stress or poor sleep, perimenopause. Maybe it's something entirely different. The point isn't to guess. The point is to investigate. I think we've become a little too comfortable dismissing fatigue, right? Especially as women, we hear things like, well, you're just getting older. Everybody's tired. That's just what happens when you're busy. Or, well, you're a new mom. So, of course, you're going to be exhausted all the time. Can I lovingly tell you something? Common does not always mean normal. Millions of people experience fatigue, and they experience chronic fatigue. That doesn't mean we should stop asking why. It means we should become even more curious. One of the reasons I feel so strongly about this is because I lived it. Before my Hashimoto's diagnosis, I remember sitting in a doctor's office trying to explain exactly how I was feeling. And I'd say, I'm exhausted. My hair is falling out. I'm gaining weight and nothing makes sense. Sometimes my lab work came back completely normal, or at least normal enough. And I'd always leave feeling like maybe it was all in my head. Maybe I really was just tired because I had a young child. Maybe I needed to try harder. Maybe everyone felt this way. Looking back now, I wish someone would have simply said, I believe you. Those 4 words matter because when someone feels unheard, they often stop asking questions. And when they stop asking questions, sometimes they stop looking for answers. And I don't want that for you. If your body is telling you something, keep listening, keep questioning, keep asking, keep advocating for yourself. Find healthcare providers who are willing to partner with you, who are curious with you, who are willing to keep digging when the first answer doesn't fit. Find a healthcare provider that wants to see the whole picture because you deserve that. There are so many different reasons why someone may experience persistent fatigue. Iron deficiency is one of them. Interestingly, research has shown that even people who aren't technically anemic can experience significant fatigue when their iron stores are low. That's one of the reasons your healthcare provider may look beyond a standard complete blood count and consider checking ferritin levels when it's appropriate, right? Vitamin B12 is another possibility. B12 is essential for healthy nerve function and red blood cell production. So low levels of B12 can contribute to fatigue, numbness, memory changes, and difficulty concentrating. Then there's thyroid health. You all know this subject is close to my heart. I've dealt with it for almost 25 years now, I think. The thyroid is a remarkably small gland with an incredibly important job. It helps regulate our metabolism in our body. So when your thyroid hormone levels are too low, many people experience profound fatigue, cold intolerance, constipation, hair loss, dry skin, difficulty concentrating, unexplained weight change. For me, that diagnosis really explained years of symptoms that finally made sense to me. And then there's autoimmune diseases, which we've talked about. It was our last episode, actually, if you want to go back and listen to that. So whether it's Hashimoto's, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, multiple sclerosis, celiac disease, or any other autoimmune condition, fatigue is often one of the earliest and most persistent symptoms that people describe. Not because the immune system is weak, quite the opposite. The immune system is incredibly active. So that ongoing immune activation, along with inflammation and changes in metabolism, can leave people feeling profoundly exhausted. And I'm not like talking tired because I stayed up too late. It's just, if you know it, you know it, but it's just an internal exhaustion. It's one of the reasons I wanted to spend so much time talking about autoimmune disease last week, because so many people living with autoimmune conditions quietly carry fatigue every single day. And often other people don't see it. Then there's something I think deserves much more attention than it gets, and that is perimenopause. So I just want to spend a minute talking about that, because I think so many women are blindsided by this season in their life. Your hormones begin changing years, actually, before menopause actually occurs. Your estrogen starts to fluctuate, your progesterone changes, your sleep often becomes lighter and more fragmented. You may technically be in bed for 8 hours and still wake up exhausted, not because you did anything wrong, but because your body is changing. Again, not something to fear, simply something to understand. And understanding gives us options, right? It gives us compassion. It gives us a language to use. Then we have stress. And honestly, I don't think we can have a conversation about fatigue without talking about stress. Not just the big, obvious stressors. I'm talking about the constant, everyday pressures that has quietly become normal in our everyday lives. The overflowing calendar, the endless notifications, the feeling that if we're sitting still, we must be doing something wrong or we feel guilty about it. Researchers have spent decades studying what chronic stress does to the body. We know it influences sleep. It influences blood sugar regulation, inflammation, immune function, even mitochondrial health. Your body was beautifully designed to respond to short bursts of stress. It wasn't designed to live there. That's really important distinction, because so many of us are living at a level of constant stress, and that's really not healthy. I think many of us have accidentally turned survival mode into our permanent address. You know, one of the most important lessons I've learned over the years is that rest is productive. And I'll say it again, rest is productive. Schedule it in if you need to. It's important. And it's not because you're accomplishing something while you rest, because rest is when your body accomplishes so much. Your body is so busy during your resting periods, and so much healing and reconstruction and rejuvenation goes on while you're resting. Think about everything that's happening when you sleep. Your hormones are being regulated, your memories are being controlled and consolidated, your muscle tissue is being repaired, your immune system is doing some of its most important work while you are sleeping. The brain is literally clearing away metabolic waste through what scientists call glymphatic system. It's a remarkable cleanup process that's the most active during deep sleep. Dr. Matthew Walker's research has transformed the way many of us think about sleep. He reminds us that sleep isn't simply the absence of wakefulness. But it's one of the busiest biological processes of the entire human body. That's incredible. So no wonder we feel so different after a truly restorative night's sleep. Sleep isn't just wasted time. It's one of the most important investments we can make in ourselves, right? So if you're listening today and you've tried improving your nutrition, you're working on your sleep, you're moving your body, you're drinking enough water, and something still doesn't feel right. If you think to yourself, I am doing everything that I know how to do, that I've been taught to do, but I still don't feel like myself, please don't ignore that. Please don't simply accept this is just what getting older feels like. Maybe it is, but maybe it isn't. Your body deserves curiosity, and you deserve answers. So, there's something I've noticed over the years, both in my own life and in the lives of the people I coach. Sometimes the hardest part isn't changing our habits. The hardest part is believing we're allowed to. Have you ever noticed that? We give ourselves permission to take care of everyone else. We'll encourage our spouse to go to the doctor. We'll tell our kids to get enough sleep because they have a big test coming up tomorrow. We'll remind our parents to drink more water as they age. We'll cook a nourishing meal for a friend who is going through a hard time. But when it comes to ourselves, we're just somehow supposed to keep going. I don't know where we learned that. Honestly, I wish we wouldn't have. Because I lived that way. There were seasons in my life when I wore exhaustion like a badge of honor. I thought pushing through made me strong. I thought saying yes to everything made me dependable. And I thought resting meant I wasn't working hard enough. Like I would feel guilty. Even if I was sick and I took a day off work and all I could do was lay on the couch, I would feel so guilty about that. But eventually, my body had something to say about it. And I wasn't angry. It wasn't punishing me. It was simply telling me, Regina, I can't keep doing this. Looking back now, I don't think my body failed me. I think it protected me. Because if I hadn't, if my body had not gotten my attention, I probably would have kept pushing and pushing. Sometimes our bodies force us to slow down because we're never going to choose it ourselves. And I think that's why I've come to see rest differently. Rest isn't quitting. Rest isn't weakness. Rest isn't falling behind. Rest is one of the ways that we participate actively in healing. That can be an incredible mindset shift. Now, when I rest, I don't feel like I'm wasting my time. I remember that while I'm resting, my body is still working. My cells are repairing, my hormones are regulating, my immune system is doing its job. My brain is organizing memories, my heart is still beating, my lungs are still filling with air. Healing doesn't stop just because I stopped moving. In many ways, that's when some of the most important work begins. And honestly, I find that incredibly comforting because it reminds me that my value has never been tied to my productivity. And I want you to know that your value is not tied to your productivity either. Can I ask a personal question? When was the last time you did something that nourished you without feeling guilty about it? Not because you earned it, not because you finished your to-do list, just because your body needed it. Maybe it was taking a walk. Maybe it was sitting on the porch with your coffee before everyone else woke up. Maybe it was reading a book that you've been wanting to read. Or spending an afternoon in your garden. Maybe it was laughing until your stomach hurt with people you love. I know that's so good for my soul. Maybe it was going to bed early, even if it was Friday night and you feel lame and old. Just kidding. How long has it been? Because I think we confuse self-care with selfishness. They're not the same thing. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's stewardship. And stewardship allows us to continue showing up well for the people we love. I often think about the safety instructions they give you on an airplane. You've heard them 100 times. Put your own oxygen mask on first before helping others. It's not because your child isn't important. It's because you can't help someone else if you've lost consciousness. Our health works the same way. Taking care of yourself isn't choosing yourself over others. It's making sure you still have something to give. And that's a great perspective. One of the greatest gifts nutrition has given me isn't actually knowing what to eat. It's changing the way I think about caring for myself. So 20 years ago, I probably would have looked at a healthy lunch and thought, I should eat this because it's good for me. Now I can look at that same lunch and think, this is one way that I can thank my body for everything it does for me. Do you hear the difference? One is obligation. The other is gratitude. One feels heavy. The other feels freeing. And I've discovered something else over the years. Gratitude is much better long-term motivator than guilt is. Guilt might change your behavior for a day or maybe even a week. Gratitude changes your relationship with yourself. You know, I think that's one of the reasons so many diets eventually fail. Not because people aren't capable, not because they don't want to feel better, but because most diets are built on restriction instead of relationship. Think about the language we've heard for decades. Cheat days, good foods, bad foods, get back on track, burn off the dessert, eat your dinner, or earn your dinner. Or if I exercise this many minutes extra, I can have dessert tonight. Like a negotiation, really. It's almost if we have been taught that health is something we achieve by constantly saying no. No to the bread, no to the birthday cake, no to vacation, no to slowing down, no to ourselves, no to happiness and enjoyment of food. And honestly, how is that working for you? How is it working for us as a society? Because from where I sit, it's left a whole lot of people exhausted, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. We've become afraid of food, afraid of rest, afraid of missing a workout, afraid of enjoying a vacation, afraid of listening to our bodies because we're convinced they're trying to sabotage us. Can I offer you another way? What if health isn't built on restriction? What if it's built on relationship? What if the goal isn't controlling your body, but understanding it? What if the goal isn't shrinking yourself, but strengthening yourself? What if the goal isn't punishment, but partnership? Because that's what I see throughout science. Our bodies are incredibly adaptive. They're constantly adjusting, repairing, communicating, protecting us. They're always working towards balance. Nutrition doesn't force the body to become healthy. It simply gives the body more of what it needs to work the way it was beautifully designed to do. I love that. Because it takes all the pressure off finding the perfect food, right? Or the perfect supplement, or the perfect workout, or the perfect plan. Instead, it reminds us that health is built one ordinary choice at a time. I think that's why one of my favorite questions has become, what does my body need more of today? Not next month, not forever, just today. One day. Maybe today your body needs protein. Maybe today it needs a more colorful lunch in the array of vegetables. Maybe today it needs a walk after dinner. Maybe today your body needs a little more water. Maybe today it needs you to close your laptop 30 minutes later or earlier. Maybe today it needs laughter or quiet or a nap. Or maybe today it just simply needs your kindness. Do you notice how different that feels? It isn't asking, what do I need to take away? It's asking, how can I care for myself today? One question comes from fear, the other comes from hope. And hope is a much more sustainable place to build a healthy life. I don't really love the word diet anymore because for so many people, it immediately brings to mind guilt, failure, restriction, and starting over on Monday. The word I love, and you'll notice if you listen to my podcast, is stewardship. Because stewardship recognizes that this body isn't something I'm constantly fighting. It's something I've been entrusted to care for. That doesn't mean I always get it right. Believe me, I don't. There are days when I eat the cookie. There are days when I skip a workout. Probably more than I'd like to admit. There are days when my water bottle is still sitting on the counter at 3 p.m, half full. I'm human. You're human. That's never been the point. The point is that tomorrow I get another opportunity to care well for this incredible body. Or my next meal, I get the opportunity to care well. No matter what my previous meal looked like, I get another chance today. And it's not because I'm trying to earn my worth, but because my worth was never tied to my performance in the first place. That realization changed everything for me, because now when I make a nourishing breakfast, I'm not trying to be good. I'm caring for someone. When I decide to go to bed instead of answering one more email or sit up scrolling my phone, I'm caring for someone. When I take a walk, I am caring for someone. That someone is me. And I have to tell you, I think a lot of us need permission to say that out loud. Not with arrogance, but with gratitude. Because you matter. And maybe that's what I hope, at least, if nothing else, that you carry with you after today's conversation. Not another nutrition rule, not another supplement to buy, not another reason to feel guilty because you haven't done enough. I hope you leave with permission. Permission to listen before your body has to scream. Permission to investigate instead of assuming. Permission to ask for help. Permission to rest. Permission to enjoy nourishing food. Permission to move your body because it feels good. Not because you have to earn your dinner. Permission to stop believing that exhaustion is simply the price of adulthood. And maybe most importantly, permission to believe your body has not been your enemy. It's been trying to care for you all along. You know, when I look back at 23-year-old Regina, the young mom who couldn't understand why she was so incredibly tired all the time, I wish I could sit down with her over a cup of coffee. I wouldn't hand her a diet. I wouldn't hand her a supplement. I wouldn't get right into building a meal plan. I think I'd simply reach across the table to her, take her hand and say, I believe you. We're going to figure this out. Your body isn't broken. It's communicating. And honestly, I think that's what I want to say to anyone listening today. If you've been feeling exhausted, if you've been wondering if this is simply what life feels like now, if you've started believing everybody that says, well, you're just getting older, I want you to know this. Don't ignore your body. Listen to it. Become curious. Nourish it well. Partner with trusted healthcare professionals. Give it what it needs. And trust that one small choice really can become another, and another, and another. Because that's how health is built. Not in one dramatic moment, but in thousand or ordinary ones. If today's conversation encouraged you, I have one small favor to ask. If you haven't already, I would love for you to like, subscribe, or follow the podcast wherever you're listening today. It truly does help these conversations reach more people. And my hope is that together, we're creating a community where people feel heard and informed, encouraged, and empowered, and not overwhelmed. We have enough overwhelming stuff in our life, right? So if you'd like to continue learning, you can visit my website at www.nourishwithregina.com. You can find free downloadable guides, recipes like the one we talked about today, and practical resources designed to help you take today's conversation and turn it into simple, sustainable action. And if you're looking for a little more personalized support, I would be honored to walk alongside you, whether it's one-on-one nutrition coaching, one of my group coaching programs, or continued accountability. You'll find all of the information you need on my website. My passion is helping people create a healthy life that feels joyful, realistic, and rooted in stewardship, not perfection. Before we wrap up, I want to give you a little preview of next week's episode because I think it's the perfect follow-up for today's conversation. This week, we learned to listen to our bodies when they're tired. Next week, we're going to learn how to enjoy vacation without ignoring those same signals. Pardon me. Our next episode is called Summer Without Sabotage. Enjoy the vacation without starting over on Monday, because healthy people go on vacation. They enjoy birthdays. They enjoy ice cream. They gather around a barbecue. They make memories. The difference isn't that they never indulge. The difference is they don't let one weekend convince them they failed. We're going to talk about how to enjoy every bit of summer, every minute of vacation, while still honoring the body you've been learning to listen to. I have a feeling it's going to be one of the most freeing conversations we've had yet. Until then, remember, your body is always communicating with you. The whispers aren't to scare you, they're to guide you. Listen with curiosity, respond with grace. Create a nourishing environment where your body can do what it was beautifully designed to do. And as always, keep nourishing your body one simple choice at a time. Bye.